For as long as nations have existed, power has always rested on something tangible: gold, armies, territory, or ideology. But in the modern world, the most powerful force isn't physical at all. It's trust, and the United States, more than any country in history, built a global system based on that invisible foundation. Not just through wars or innovation or trade dominance, but by creating the financial operating system that the entire planet eventually depended on. For decades, that system looked unshakable. Today, it's showing cracks. Our story begins near the end of World War II. It is in 1944. Cities across Europe are in ruins. Economies are destroyed. Currencies have collapsed. And the world needs a new way to rebuild. Delegates from 44 nations gather in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to design a global financial system. The truth, however, is that only one country truly holds the power to shape that system: the United States. With most of the world's gold, the strongest economy, the biggest industrial base, and the most stable currency, the U.S. becomes the anchor for the entire structure under American leadership. Every major currency is pegged to the dollar, and the dollar is pegged to gold. Overnight, the U.S. dollar becomes the core of the global economy. But as other countries rebuild and grow, something unexpected happens. The world begins demanding more dollars than the U.S. has gold to back. Gold drains from American vaults, and on August 10th, 1971, President Richard Nixon delivers one of the most consequential announcements in financial history. The United States will no longer exchange dollars for gold. The entire Bretton Woods system collapses. Currencies float freely for the first time. The dollar is no longer tied to anything physical. Many analysts predict chaos, but instead, the U.S. builds something even more powerful. 2 years later, in 1973, America strikes a secret deal with Saudi Arabia. Every barrel of oil produced in Saudi territory will be priced and sold only in U.S. dollars, and the U.S., in exchange, will guarantee the kingdom's security within a decade. Every major oil-producing nation adopts the same model. This creates the Petrodollar system, where the world must use U.S. dollars to purchase the energy that keeps modern economies alive. Countries begin stockpiling dollars, and those dollars flow back into American banks and American bonds. The United States gains something economists call exorbitant privilege. It can borrow more than any other nation, spend more than any other nation, run deficits that would destroy other economies. And still, the world continues to accept and even depend on the U.S. dollar. In the decades that follow, America transforms from an industrial giant into the center of global finance. Wall Street becomes the heart of the global economy. U.S. capital markets grow deeper than any in history. American banks dominate global lending. U.S. Treasury bonds become the safest financial asset on earth. And even when the American system shows its weaknesses, dot-com crash, the 2008 financial crisis, political dysfunction, investors around the world still rush to buy U.S. dollars and U.S. bonds, because for generations, one belief held the entire global system together: the United States always pays its debts. That belief begins to crack in 2022. 2 days after Russia invades Ukraine, the U.S. and its allies freeze $300 billion of Russia's central bank reserves for the first time in history. A major global power realizes that its dollar reserve sits. National savings can be frozen or seized. Countries around the world take notice. China accelerates the development of alternative payment systems. BRICS nations discuss new trading currencies. Saudi Arabia begins accepting currencies other than the dollar for oil deals. Central banks start buying gold at the fastest rate in half a century. For the first time since the end of World War II, the world is seriously exploring alternatives to the U.S.-led financial system. This doesn't mean the dollar is about to collapse. It remains the world's dominant reserve currency. The U.S. bond market is still the deepest and safest in the world. American financial institutions still anchor global markets, and no other currency, neither the euro, the yuan, nor any digital asset has the liquidity, scale, or trust to fully replace the dollar. But the trajectory is changing. Slowly, quietly, significantly. We are entering a world that is becoming multipolar, not because another currency has risen to replace the dollar, but because trust in the American-centered system is weakening. The future may look very different from the world we've known for decades. multiple reserve currencies, regional trade blocs, digital settlement systems, commodity-backed experiments, and less dependence on American debt. The U.S. will remain a major financial power, but not the absolute center of the global system. History shows that every global financial order has a lifespan. The Dutch guilder once dominated world trade, then the British pound ruled the world. Now, it's the dollar. Every system rises, every system transforms, and every system eventually meets its limits. The real question is not whether the dollar will disappear at 1T, but what the next version of the global financial order will look like. Whether it'll be shaped peacefully through cooperation or chaotically through conflict. In the end, global power doesn't rest on military force alone. It rests on something far more fragile. Trust, the same trust that made the US dollar the foundation of the modern world, and the same trust that will determine what comes next. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive documentary, make sure to subscribe for more stories about how the financial world truly works. This is Money Moves.